right, let's talk about these drones in Jersey. I have been paying a lot of attention to this story. I'll probably throw this up on the second channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Justin Royal, and I am a fishing YouTuber, but I have also been following the drone story very closely, and I want to watch some of the reporting with you guys here and give you guys my thoughts as we roll through some of these videos. It's been crazy. Give you a little background. I spent 10 years in the aerospace industry. My dad is a pilot. My dad's brother is a pilot. My dad's dad was a pilot. I've been around a lot of aircraft. I've been around a lot of airplanes. I myself am a drone pilot. I have 2 drones. So there's a little bit of quick history. Let's jump off into some of these videos and take a look at what's been going on in the skies over New Jersey. All right, so this is the first one I want to take a look at right here, just because it kind of gives an overview. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen some of this stuff.
There's the drone. He's been there for about 15 minutes now. There's stuff spraying out of them.
These drones appear to be sophisticated. They are very large drones, and they are hovering precariously close to very sensitive sites, including military sites.
Swarms of drones the size of small cars have been spotted over parts of New Jersey, alarming local residents.
How is it possible that everyone from the New Jersey governor to the FBI have no idea what these are?
They know.
Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their home.
Oh no. Holy shit. Are these
For people missing context, in the last couple weeks there have been non-stop unidentified aerial phenomenons over New Jersey, to the point that even the Pentagon had to comment, and also the president-elect.
I've seen some wild stuff since this started. And my views, my opinions, my take on the matter, my thoughts on the matter have been evolving, constantly changing and updating as new information comes in. And there's been some pretty scary stuff rolling in. We'll cover that here in a second. It's pretty eerie, man.
God. Those are the Chinese spy drones. It's a fucking invasion. What if those things actually are aliens and they've already done preliminary research?
So that's a good point. What if they are aliens and they've already done preliminary research? I do not believe those things are aliens, but I did have the thought. They're reassuring everyone that it's not a foreign adversary. And people are making the argument that since they have FAA compliant lighting, and the drones that I've seen are FAA compliant, they have, you know, the standard aircraft lighting that you would be required to have on any drone or airplane. That being said, what if a foreign adversary studied the FAA regulations so that when they did deploy drones over US soil, they would be able to blend in, or people would think, hey, those are our drones. It's just a thought I had. I'm not saying that that's what's going on, but if I was going to send my drones up into enemy territory and I didn't want people to be alarmed, I might make them look just like the Legal Eagle drones that are flying around in that territory normally. Would be a pretty darn clever way to get them to blend in, at least for a period of time where you could collect data. And yeah, so that's crazy to think about.
On our species, and they realized that the best place to land and to make contact would be the United States. Aliens could literally land and nobody would believe it's actually happening because people are like, oh no, it's just a drone. It's fake news, bro.
So that's kind of how I felt when I first started seeing this stuff. A lot of the footage that was coming out, it was footage of aircraft. Like I said, I've been around manned aircraft. Like I said, I've been around airplanes practically my whole life. I'll throw up a little picture here so you guys can see. I've been around planes. I've been on active airfields, everything from small Cessnas, drones, and massive ISR platforms. I'm no stranger to airplanes or aircraft. So the first footage that I saw coming out, a lot of it was just airplanes. And I was like, man, y'all are bugging out. That's an airplane. And then I kept paying attention, and more and more reports started coming out, and I updated my thinking. And then we'll get on to some of the more concerning, scary type of stuff that people have been talking about here in just a second. Let's finish this video. It's really short. From Asmongold TV. Dude's a legend on YouTube. You probably know him. That is crazy to see those drones all outside of that.
Guys, I'm not going to say it,
airliner.
but man, better to download this one. This is looking pretty disclosure-y. Oh boy, I am so ready for Trump to be the president.
Me too.
Could easily see this being like issue number one.
Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. I think.
Yeah, there's a reason they don't want to tell us. But they know. I want to play this video right here from a little Good Day New York news report where they did a segment with the New Jersey mayor. And some of the things you are going to hear in this video are quite concerning. I'm sure all of you may have seen the TikTok video of that dude talking about weapons of mass destruction, radioactive material, nuclear weapons, that sort of thing. Let's listen to what the mayor has to say.
And he joins us this morning right here on Good Day New York. Thank you for joining us, Mayor. You know, President-elect Trump says that
Mayor of Belleville, New Jersey. Let's listen to him.
If the Biden administration knows what's going on, our government knows what's going on.
They know.
You're the mayor of of Bellevue. What do you know?
We know very little. About 6 days ago, there was an unprecedented briefing with every single mayor in the state of New Jersey, along with every member of our state legislature. We learned exactly at that time what the state knows, which was very little. Since then, information has not been forthcoming. And it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men. And more than likely, it's not a foreign adversary.
Little green men, UFOs, aliens, stuff from another planet. If you guys want to hear my UFO story, stick around, sub to the channel.
Because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the white.
Listen to what he just said there, though.
More than likely, it's not a foreign adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights.
Unless they wanted you to think the drones were ours.
These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the White House telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house. Yet they continue to tell us we don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place.
And that it has something to do with radioactive material in New Jersey. What are you hearing?
So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying in a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something.
That's plausible. It sounds super plausible. The way they're flying, how low they are, flying in a grid. When I first heard this from that dude on TikTok, and we'll look at that here in a second, I was getting pretty concerned.
What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and it was empty. And again, this is just an example of what I think that we're sniffing for.
Sniffing for. That's been a hot button term here lately. Sniffing. The drones are sniffing. So it's my understanding that the lost radioactive material was, a medical device, CT scanner or something of that nature. When you look into it, it's like a category 3 or grade 3 or whatever they call it, radioactive device. Something that wouldn't be like a nuclear warhead. But still, apparently that bulletin is out there and they could potentially be looking for something. From the way they're flying around, it would not surprise me if they were. I mean, they're definitely looking for something. Who knows what they're definitely doing, but it would appear that they are looking for something.
I think we do have the assets that can go up and fly around and sniff things, which is why we're not seeing the uptick we used to see in Belleville anymore. It's kind of moving, but we're seeing alerts that it's happening now in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it seems to be moving across the country, and they're fanning out, they're spreading out. I've been keeping my eyes to the sky here in Texas, and I haven't seen anything yet. I'll make sure I'll let you guys know if I do. But I think we'll move on from this video here, and we'll move on to the clip from TikTok of the dude talking about the warhead. All right, are drones looking for nuclear weapons in New Jersey? Ryan McBeth, 1 million subscribers. But I don't feel like this video is making the rounds like that TikTok video is. So let's just listen to a couple things that Ryan has to say. This dude is well informed on the subject, it would seem.
Are drones flying over New Jersey looking for a nuclear bomb? Okay, so we're doing this. This came to light from a TikTok post by a man named John Ferguson. He owns a drone company called Saxon Aerospace, and he made a video where he speculated that drones were allegedly appearing over New Jersey and trying to look for a nuclear weapon. Now, there's a lot this person said that was wrong, and he may know a little bit about drones, but I don't think he knows much about how nuclear weapons work. And
over my head, I'm not sure how they work, but this guy, I think he's going to break it down for us.
Also note that this video may get shared a lot, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ryan McBeth. I spent 20 years as an infantryman while serving. I obtained a bachelor's in computer
Thank you for your service, Ryan.
science and math.
Shout outs to all the men and women of our nation's armed forces. We got mad respect for them over here on my YouTube channels.
There's an engineering management and an MSc in cybersecurity. Now this video popped up on TikTok and then X, formerly known as Twitter, and this man's opinion has been taken as fact by quite a few people. What's kind of interesting is that John starts out with this.
I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, if you think it's whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation.
So John doesn't want to spread misinformation, but the very next thing he does is spread misinformation with this.
Okay, so you kind of see where this guy's going. He's going to refute some of the claims that this John Ferguson gentleman makes in his TikTok video.
Back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program.
Quick side note, I have a hard time trusting anyone who says nuclear as nuclear. I know they've added it to the dictionary as an alternate pronunciation in the past few years or something, but it's nuclear. Nuclear weapons. Nuclear. That's redneck talk, man. And I know a thing or two about some rednecks because my redneck comes out every once in a while. And I'm not saying I have the best pronunciation or enunciation, but it just irks me when people say nuclear for whatever reason. It's nuclear. And if you want me to take your advice, you better pronounce it right.
So this is the first thing he got wrong. Ronald Reagan did not dismantle the nuclear program. He did go to...
Notice how he says it. Nuclear.
So these would be like medium-range nuclear weapons, like the kind that are based in Europe. Weapons like the Pershing missile that was manufactured in the U.S., deployed to West Germany, and made an appearance in the movie Weird Science.
One of my favorite movies. Shout outs to John Hughes. I love Weird Science.
There were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in...
Nuclear warheads? Nuclear warheads?
Ukraine that came up missing.
So the Soviet Union fell on December 26, 1991. And overnight, 4 new nations became nuclear powers: Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Belarus. That's because nuclear weapons just happened to be at those launch sites or depots when the Soviet Union dissolved.
So we're getting a little history lesson here. I learned a lot listening to this guy talk. He's very intelligent.
And the whole world went, crap.
It was scary when I first saw that TikTok video. It seems plausible. And then when you listen to the way he breaks it down, if you take his word for it, it seems even likely with the way the drones are behaving. But like I said, my opinion and my take on this entire New Jersey drone situation has been evolving as the story unfolds.
You can't cheat physics, man. No matter what you do, you need between 9 and 22 pounds of plutonium to reach critical mass.
You need between 9 and 22 pounds of plutonium to reach critical mass. We're learning.
So that means the tritium in those nuclear weapons would have gone through at least 8.28 half-lives. So the amount of tritium in these nuclear weapons would be a quarter of what it would need to boost the explosion, assuming these weapons use tritium, but I might be getting a little too sciencey here. But
oh no, by all means, we like science. This is fun to learn, regardless of how scary the situation is potentially. Tritium. Half-lives. These are like words that I just like heard in Ghostbusters. What are the power cells have a half-life of 5,000 years. something like that. Ghostbusters 2.
Batteries used for the detonators would have to be replaced. The materials inside the weapon would degrade over time. The plutonium would probably still be good. It has a half-life of like 24,000 years.
Whoa.
But what I'm saying is that a nuclear weapon that has been sitting on the shelf since at least 1996 would need maintenance. And you're not going to find these specialists at Dr. Phone Fix. And if you were the kind of scientist who would work on a nuclear weapon for a terrorist organization, you better have double indemnity life insurance, because Russia does not read you Miranda rights. They just toss you out a window.
Nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case.
No, you don't. Let me just explain how a security clearance works. Now,
this party's about to speak on, I actually do have experience with, as I am a former security clearance holder in a past life, before YouTube, before the phishing stuff took off. Yeah, I had a clearance.
John here might have a secret clearance if he does work for the government. If you don't do drugs and you have a good criminal record and no financial problems, you can get a secret clearance.
That's true.
It's not that hard.
Can confirm.
Top secret, a little bit harder, but
also,
any kind of information on missing nuclear weapons would be TSSCI or above. TSSCI means top secret, sensitive, compartmented information.
Spent some time in the SCIF. Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. Now you're learning.
I want to have access to information about what's going on with drug cartels in Mexico. I don't need to know that to do my job. Now, a security clearance...
That's true. You're only going to know whatever information you need to know to do your job, regardless of what clearances you may possess.
It's a very precious thing. And everybody who has one knows that. There is zero chance that some high-level government official would risk their own security clearance telling someone with zero need to know about missing nuclear weapons if it were even true.
So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew
he got here.
that thing was headed towards the United States.
Boop. I touched the butt.
Sounds like a good plot to a movie, bub.
Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night, unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance.
So I've spent a lot of time around ISR aircraft. Just gonna leave it at that.
You know, looking for bad guys or looking for...
They can count the change in your pocket from space. We can do things, we can do incredible things with aircraft. The drones are flying low, super low.
A victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. To go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened.
Nuclear warhead. It's driving me nuts. I'm sorry.
They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it.
Okay, so he's basically insinuating that these drones are looking for a nuclear weapon that is in the U.S.
Our drones, the only reason why they would be flying and flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. So my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground.
Now, here's the problem with this line of thinking. You know, if you watch my videos on how nuclear weapons work, there's something called the inverse square law. Double your distance from the source and the radiation goes down by a factor of 4.
Double your distance from the source and the radiation goes down by a factor of 4. This dude is learning us all in this video. It's very interesting regardless of your take on the whole drone thing.
This is called the inverse square law. Double your distance from the source and the radiation goes down by a factor of 4. Now, nuclear material is constantly decaying, So it is naturally emitting radiation. The natural decay of isotopes like uranium-238 or plutonium-239 emit very low levels of radiation under normal circumstances. And nuclear weapons are typically shielded so that stuff doesn't get out and endanger crew members or maintenance workers.
Right.
I mean, these dudes are just chilling out working on a nuclear warhead, no protective equipment. They probably have TLDs or thermolusent dosimeters, but the weapon is shielded from the workers. So if some dude were driving around New Jersey with a nuclear weapon in his trunk and that nuclear weapon wasn't shielded, it'd probably get sick over time. If I had a nuclear weapon like in this room, I probably wouldn't be able to detect it unless I was really close to it because it is shielded. I mean, even the nuclear detectors at shipyards that inspect shipping containers have to be right next to the shipping container. Even if they're flying low, they'll be flying too high to actually detect the device because of the inverse square law.
Okay, so this guy's take on it is that even the amount of radiation being emitted from a potential weapon of mass destruction, a nuclear warhead, wouldn't be enough for the drones to detect even at the low altitudes that they are flying. So there's one seemingly very well-educated refute of the nuclear warhead claim that was made by the gentleman on TikTok. Now, let's bounce back to a video I was watching earlier. If you guys haven't seen JRE number 2244 with Ryan Graves, the best JRE that I've seen in probably years. It was so good. A lot of talk about the drones and UAPs, UFOs, alien technology. It was awesome. I was enamored through the entire 3 hours. You guys should check it out. But let's look at this little clip from that episode right now. Ex-Navy pilot Ryan Graves on the potential for the drones to be looking for nuclear weapons.
So, you know, I've had the privilege of interacting with a lot of government organizations over the past few years as I've been digging down this rabbit hole. Law enforcement at a federal level, DOD, executive branch, legislative branch, and some of the folks that I've come in contact with, they specifically work on weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so that's their job. So if there's a loose nuke in the United States, among other agencies, they would be some of the people that would be sitting in a skiff for 24 hours a day trying to figure out where it is and to go get it.
There's that word again, skiff. You remember that from earlier? Sensitive compartmented information facility.
Right. So you can imagine that would be their number one priority. Right. So I engage with these folks. I ask them, you know, what's the sense here? You know, people are kind of starting to panic a little bit, and this message is getting out there more and more broadly. And they assured me that's not the case, that there is not a loose nuke or other type of weapon of mass destruction that these objects, whatever they are pursuing right now. Otherwise, they would be working in a skiff nonstop to make that go away, that problem go away. So, you know, that's part of why I have a high confidence level that this is not a response to a massive imminent, you know, weapons of mass destruction threat.
Well, that's good. So according to Ryan Graves and the gentleman that we watched that seems pretty well educated on nuclear weapons, the way they work and the way they emit radiation, both of these very credible, extremely knowledgeable, experienced people refute those claims. So for me personally, that's comforting. I was in the camp of, y'all are crazy, these are airplanes. Then I was in the camp of, okay, these are airplanes, drones, other things that people are seeing in the sky just because they're looking up at the sky a lot more. And then it became obvious that there was definitely something going on with an increase in drone presence over New Jersey. Then I saw the TikTok video and I was like, oh my God, seems legit. That's terrifying. So I was actually in the camp of thinking that we might be looking for a nuke there for a couple days. And then I saw these other videos and I have walked that back a little bit. And I tend to put more faith into the gentleman from the previous video and Mr. Graves here on the JRE than I do from the dude on TikTok. Call me crazy, but that's just how I feel at this current moment, at the time of me filming this video. But like I said, ever evolving, ever changing. I'm updating my opinion and what I think about this whole thing as time goes on. One thing I do know that I feel like I'm confident in saying is that the United States government knows what's going on. There is something big going on, and they are not telling us what it is, but they need to tell us what it is. This is freaking a bunch of people out. People are shooting at aircraft, shining lasers into pilots' eyes. And this is all due to the incompetence of our government and their refusal to give us any information other than there's nothing to see here. We're confident that they're not adversarial, that they're not UFOs or UAPs, but we don't know what they are and we can't say anything. It's just ridiculous. They know what they are. They know what's going on, and they need to come clean. People are freaking out. I was freaking out for a little bit.
So I just want to try to dispel that rumor right now. I've seen a lot of talk of that online.
Thank you.
And I don't, although this is I think a dangerous and scary situation that's going on right now, at least from that particular angle, that's not the indications I'm receiving.
That's not the case? Or have they given you any information that leads to this conclusion? Like,
they would be the people actively working it, essentially, right? So,
and they're not
working it, right? So either the government is holding back that secret from the direct resources within the government that are responsible for finding these systems.
That could be a possibility. Maybe they have not told the normal personnel that would be working an event such as this about it so that they could keep it under wraps. Maybe there's like a secret team of nuclear people. I don't know. But again, I tend to put more faith into what Ryan here is saying than I do some dude that owns a drone company that heard from his buddy that there's a warhead missing. I mean, that's just, come on. But something is going on. Something is definitely going on, and they're definitely keeping us in the dark. Why? I'm not sure. It's interesting, some of the stuff that's out there about how the law enforcement can't even get close to these things with their drones. They can't track them. In this same JRE episode here, he's talking about how they're not emitting the same type of frequency signatures that normal drones do. It's just strange. This is very strange. Could it just be a massive, widespread, ongoing military exercise? It seems like if that's what was going on, they would just say that. They would say, hey, we're running a drill. We're testing some drones. There's no potential harm to the American public. Just chill and let us fly around and we'll be gone in a week. But it's just stayed under this veil of secrecy, and everyone has just been left to come up with their own theories and their own speculation as to what might be going on, and that's fueling a lot of the fear. Something else they talked about is how there's a classified briefings going on.
Lawmakers are set for a classified briefing about those mystery drones flying over many parts of the East Coast.
I think this was yesterday. They had the briefing, and I haven't heard of anything coming out of it. Obviously, it's classified, so we probably won't hear anything coming out of it. But what are they telling them in this classified briefing?
Pentagon also set to take questions today at a briefing. It and several other agencies insist these drones don't pose a threat at this time and admit the military is restricted in what it can do until there's proof of a threat.
Don't pose a threat at this time. Now that sort of reopens the potential for it to be a foreign adversary flying drones in our airspace with FAA compliant lighting and materials. That information would be easy for another country like China or Russia to figure out. Also, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people are saying that these things are coming out of the ocean, which if that's true, that's crazy. They talked about that on the JRE and how we are, in total surveillance of the waters off the East Coast. So is there a warship out there launching drones? That's unlikely, but what if they're coming from something that's completely covert and undetectable by us? Hell, what if they are aliens, dude? What if they come out of the water? There's a lot of later UFO information about how these things they're like UAP, aerial, and USP, subsurface. Like they can go in the air and in the water. I don't know. It's just crazy. And then you start going down the rabbit hole of some of the footage that we've seen from fighter pilots of, these weird UAP aerial phenomenon clips from radars and stuff that just behaves like nothing we've ever seen before. Obviously, the drones, they behave and they are behaving more like, man-made aerial, manned or unmanned aircraft. But what are they doing up there? Why have they been up there every single night for so long? And why so much secrecy surrounding it? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. So now let's get into some clips that I have not seen already. This is FBI issues major drone warning to Americans. Let's see what they have to say.
And we are back here for you worldwide on Live Now from...
This is from 5 hours ago. And just for the record, it is 2:34 p.m. Wednesday, December 18th at the time of me filming this video.
Thanks again for joining us. We want to continue to talk about the mysteries in the sky. We're talking about the drone mysteries that are...
Yeah, what's weird here, the drones seem to be sort of interacting with one another. And there's even clips of like some of them falling out of the sky or maybe even like getting into some sort of aerial combat. I tend to believe that those clips are probably fake, but if they're not, that is insane. Are they shooting each other out of the sky? I don't think so, but that would be wild.
Are really prevalent across the Northeast, really all across the country. So many of you have been calling in to newsrooms like this one, sending in emails saying, okay, we see this in the sky, we see that.
I think a lot of people are just looking at the sky more than they normally do. And if they see an airplane that looks a little funny or anything flying low, they're probably reporting that. I'm sure there's a bunch of that going on. I've seen weird things in the skies a lot. And I've seen, funny aircraft flying super high, super low. And I even have my own UFO story that I will tell in a separate video. If you guys are interested in seeing that, stick around. And it's crazy. It's something that I cannot explain, and I'm not like a UFO person. Just like so many people out there, they're like, I don't really believe in aliens. Until there's proof, until they land and those little green dudes step off, I'm really not convinced. So I'm not like a UFO nut or anything like that, but I do have a story and something that happened to me and my brother when I was really young, too young to even know about any of this stuff that I cannot explain. And I look forward to sharing that with you in a future video really soon.
So let's continue to talk about this. The FBI putting out a major drone warning now to Americans. They are worried that some people are going to start taking this into their own hands.
People are going to start taking this into their own hands, and I've already seen instances of people doing so because you are keeping them in the dark. You are not informing the American people. Cut that part out. We can't say that. I fear that people will start taking matters into their own hands if the government doesn't be more forthcoming about what they know, because they do know more than they are telling us. And this is the standard American reaction, and it will serve them right if they don't come out and give us something to work with other than just saying there's nothing to see here, because there's obviously something to see here.
FBI field office in Newark urged New Jersey residents this week not to shoot down drones or point lasers at manned aircraft.
I agree with that. Don't be pointing lasers at manned aircraft. And if you're shooting at a drone, that's still an aircraft, and it's still a major, major crime. I'm willing to bet that if you shoot one of these down, you are going to get nailed to the wall. So everybody should be careful. But you can't blame people for reacting, and for they're fearing for the safety of themselves and their loved ones. And we don't sit around over here. We don't play in this country. We will defend our lives and our property by any means necessary. And the government should take that into consideration and come on with it. Give us something more than what they're giving us, because this is all bullshit. Nothing to see here.
taking to social media to warn against the dangerous and possibly deadly activity which comes amid an uptick in reported drone sightings along the U.S. East Coast. The drone sightings have prompted a collective sense of panic among residents who have taken to social media to share photos and videos of believed drones captured in the darkened U.S. skies. The shared sense of fear-mongering has also prompted some vigilante-like responses, with some social media users documenting efforts to take matters into their own hands.
Like Batman?
Including via laser beam. In the statement released by the FBI and New Jersey State Police, authorities expressly warned against such activities, citing an increase in pilots of manned aircraft in the area who have been hit in the eyes with lasers.
Well, this is the danger of keeping the American public in the dark. This is the kind of bullshit and dumbass activity that you garner by lying to people. If you just came out and told us the truth, whatever it is, and let us make the decision for ourselves on how we want to react. Obviously, they're hiding something from us for a reason. They don't want people to panic. Is it because of nuclear weapons? I don't think so at this time, given everything we learned in this video so far. But something's going on, man. Y'all guys got to speak up. Say something. Give us something, bro. It's frustrating and annoying as an American. And we just need to keep hammering, keep demanding answers. Mark my words, more will come out. And more often than not, people that accuse the conspiracy theorists of being crazy, and go look up how many conspiracy theories ended up being true after the fact. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of them. A lot. In fact, most of them, I would say, end up being true. Just which conspiracy is it going to turn out to be? Something to think about.
Being misidentified as a drone by someone on the ground. Officials said that there is also concern that people on the ground could also mistakenly fire weapons at what they believe to be an unmanned aircraft system, or UAS, but in fact, it is a manned aircraft. FBI Newark, New Jersey State Police, and dozens of other agencies and law enforcement partners have been out every night for several weeks to legally track down operators acting illegally or with nefarious intent.
Operators with nefarious intent. Who would that be? The Americans that are just trying to figure out what's going on? Now, shooting at anything in the air is stupid. Let me say that again. Shooting at anything in the air is stupid, especially since a lot of these clips that I've been seeing from the very beginning, since this all started popping off, are blatantly, obviously manned aircraft. Like, people are mistaking airplanes for drones, without a doubt. But there are also a lot of very strange drones in the air, well documented, multiple different iterations, multiple different designs, multiple types of drones flying around en masse. All right, so let's watch this last little clip right here and then we'll wrap it up. This one's getting long, but there's a lot to cover.
We're shutting down Air Force bases. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base gets shut down for a while. When commercial airlines are interfered with, they can't do their flight patterns because of these drones. That's weird. You can't tell me the government doesn't know what's going on here. And the fact they will not brief us, they will not level us with us, they won't answer questions in public, there's something really strange that's going on.
Couldn't agree more. There's definitely something really strange going on. The government absolutely knows something. They know more than they're telling us. At this point, I don't know what to think. You guys let me know what you think it is down below. Do you think they're looking for a nuke? Do you think these are our drones just running a drill? Is there really nothing to see here, nothing to worry about? Do you think it could be a foreign adversary disguised as FAA compliant domestic drones? Or do you think it's aliens? Do you think it could be legit aliens? I don't know what to think anymore. I'd love to hear from you guys. But yeah, that's about it. All right, so I actually ended the video earlier and I went about my day. But as I did so, I stumbled across this video right here. And I had to fire this back up one more time because this is going to tie into something that I said at the very beginning of this video. Check this out. This comes to us from Kagan Dunlap. Also, I want to mention that every channel that we have viewed in this video will be down below in the description. Please go give those guys some support. But let's check this out.
All right, so the Department of Defense is finally addressing the drone situation. The House Foreign Affairs Committee Chair McCall is convinced that these things are Chinese spy drones. Let's listen to what he had to say.
China.
I did ask you, do you have any idea what line of questioning you all are going with? The public and lawmakers, obviously, we all have a lot of questions about what those are.
Yeah, we want answers. The response that I'm getting is that we don't know whose drones these are. I was with the NASA administrator, Bill Nelson. He said that these drones have been reported over military sites, military bases. I would not think those are friendly. I would think those are adversarial.
He makes a good point. Why would we fly our own drones over our own military bases? And you would rightfully and reasonably assume that if there are unknown aircraft surveilling our military institutions, those are probably of the enemy.
In fact, NASA seems to be picking up more than our military is with respect to the drones.
I'm hearing them talk about NASA more and more in regard to all this.
So I think Congress is gonna pursue this. I know the House Intelligence Committee is having a hearing on this. We need to identify who is behind these drones. My judgment, based on my experience, is that those that are over our military sites are adversarial and most likely are coming from the People's Republic of China.
Chinese drones running FAA lighting, in this gentleman's opinion.
Do you think you'll be satisfied with what you hear today?
Probably not. I think they're going to say they don't know. And that's a concern in and of itself, that if we have drones flying around military bases and we can't identify where they came from or who's responsible for them. I know there are a lot of commercial drones out there, and Secretary Mayorkas has talked about this. That's fine. But the ones flying over our military bases, by definition, I would say are adversarial.
Adversarial, of the enemy. He makes a great point. It's almost scarier, the thought, thinking that, because I've been, parroting in this video this over and over, that they know what's going on, they're just not telling us. It's sort of even scarier in my mind to think that the government just absolutely has no clue where these are from or what they're doing. That's scary as well.
We need to know who is behind that because I believe they're spies
from China. Crazy.
Drones. And the PRC, Chinese, Communist China, is very good at this stuff.
Yeah, very clever to run Chinese drones in American airspace with FAA compliant lighting right out in the open for at least a month now. Most people probably didn't even notice right away. Who knows how long it actually took us to notice the increased presence. Is this China, flying drones that look like they could be our drones? It's possible.
And we know they bought land around
This gentleman seems to think so.
Military bases. This would be very consistent with it. The PRC, Chinese, Communist China, is very good at this stuff. And we know they bought land around military bases.
They have.
This would be very consistent with their policy over the last couple of years.
Public record that they have bought up a lot of American land, the Chinese government. So anyways, there it is, guys. I had to fire this back up to include this because it ties back into what I was saying earlier, that it could be our enemies running drones in our airspace made to look like our own drones. But I'm interested to know your thoughts. This whole thing is crazy. We'll stay on top of it. That's going to be it for right now. Later.